Now, the biggest thing for Carolina, North Carolina, if you think they're going to cut down the nets, and I do, is the injury to Joel Berry. Two injured ankles. Not going to be 100%. He's going to suit up. How effective is he going to be? We're joined by Andrew Carter from the Raleigh News and Observer in Phoenix, covering the Tar Heels, and joins us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 at Team ESPN Radio in Albany. Andrew, Roger Weiland, and Chris Honorato, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. What is the update on the injury to Berry the second here? Is he going to play?
Oh, yeah, he's going to play. There's no doubt about that. He made that clear enough yesterday when media members had an opportunity to go in there into the locker room and talk with the guys. And, he put to rest any kind of speculation about his status. He's definitely going to play. The question is just how effective he's going to be, how much pain he's going to be in. He was in an immense amount of pain when UNC played against Kentucky on Sunday. He really kind of grinded through that game. Sprained his left ankle early in that game after having some issues with his right throughout the week. Really, his right ankle has been kind of an on-again, off-again problem throughout the year. But he re-injured that during the first NCAA tournament victory they had this year against Texas Southern. So that's been a problem and an issue that they've been dealing with. And, this week it's been about rehab. It's been about getting in the pool and doing some work there. He's been cupping. Which is a rehab thing that I'm not entirely sure how to describe, but they're doing it. I think Olympic swimmers do it. Trying to get some traction there with that. And, he's definitely going to play, but again, the question is just going to be how effective he is.
Is this team, Andrew, playing a little chip on their shoulder, knowing what happened last year? Is this one of those unfinished business kind of deals going on with Roy Williams and the Tar Heels this weekend?
Yeah, for sure. But what's been interesting to me, really, is that they've been talking about that angle kind of all year long. They've been talking about the redemption thing. And earlier in the tournament, I think it was before the first game, it came out, we were talking to some guys in the locker room, and they just kind of brought up that, they have this group text message thing that they do among the entire team. Every player is on it. They text back and forth. And, you can kind of change the name of these group text message groups. Which I wasn't even aware of, but they named this thing Redemption. And that was a name that Justin Jackson, the ACC Player of the Year, the junior forward, came up with over the summer, a couple months after last season ended. And, redemption has been kind of the word throughout this entire tournament for UNC, getting back to this point that, it is interesting in that once they got here, they've kind of put that talk on the back burner. They've really been hyper-focused on Oregon, on the task at hand. They're trying not to think so much about last year. But, for me, it's how can you not think about last year? That's obviously going to be in the back of their minds, and that's something they all remember is just walking off that court the way last season ended. And all year long, they've been trying to get back to this point.
Andrew Carter of the Raleigh News and Observer with us. Check him out on Twitter @_Andrew Carter. Chris Honorato with you here, along with Roger. Andrew, if North Carolina is playing at its height, if it's playing at its best, is there a team in the country? Obviously, I know we're only down to 4, but I'm looking for just some perspective on how good this team is. Is there a team in the country that can beat them?
That's an interesting question. I kind of tend to think probably. I don't think this is like an all, just completely dominant beast of a team. I don't think this is like the 2009 Tar Heels, which kind of blew through the NCAA tournament. I don't think this is even, like the 2005 team that they had that won the national championship that had a lot of NBA guys on it. They do have some great players. Again, Justin Jackson, the ACC Player of the Year. Joel Berry has had a great year. Kennedy Meeks, Isaiah Hicks. But this isn't like an overwhelmingly dominant type team. That said, I do think these guys, when they've been at their best, I think they have been the best team in the country. The issue for UNC is that hasn't often been the case. I thought that they started the season incredibly well. They went to Maui. They kind of dominated the competition out there. And all of a sudden you're kind of wondering, is it possible that these guys might be better than they were last year, which is a question that no one even fathom could be possible given who they lost. They lost Bryce Johnson, who was an All-American. They lost Marcus Page, who was kind of the emotional soul of that team for 4 years. And you're sitting there in late November after they blew through Maui, and you're like, these guys look really, really good. And then they kind of went through a lull. I mean, January wasn't a great month for them, and kind of up and down February, and they kind of turned it on in moments. But even here in the NCAA tournament, they've had to really grind out victories. They could have easily lost against Arkansas in the second round. You saw what happened on Sunday against Kentucky. Granted, Kentucky's a great team, but still, UNC had to grind through that one as well. So it's not like they're just completely running over teams, putting teams away. I do think that when UNC is at its best, it is arguably the best in the country. But, yeah, I think there are other teams that have a shot to beat these guys. I think what gives UNC an edge is the experience, the fact that they have been through this before. They don't get really phased very easily. And, these guys have been playing together for a long time, too, and I think that helps.
Yeah, you'll have to deal with North Carolina, Will Tyler Dorsey and Dillon Brooks. What is the respect level from North Carolina and Roy Williams for this Oregon team?
Very, very high, extremely high. Roy talked about that yesterday with us there in Glendale. Just how about he saw these guys. He saw Oregon play in Maui. Oregon was also in the Maui Invitational, and Oregon didn't play particularly well. I think they got beat by Georgetown. Obviously Georgetown didn't wind up having a very good year, but Oregon lost that game. They kind of struggled, I think, to beat Tennessee the next game. Needed overtime in that, and so Roy wasn't too impressed, I don't think, with Oregon back then. But then you look what happened since. I think Oregon's only lost 3 games since then. One of those against Arizona, in the Pac-12 tournament. And so those guys kind of really turned things around after kind of struggling in the early part of the year. This is a team that is going to present some matchup problems. Dillon Brooks 6'7", Dorsey 6'4". I think these guys on the perimeter are arguably about as talented as what UNC has faced all year long. And they're going to try to spread out UNC. They're going to put guys out there on the perimeter to make some plays, to create some mismatches, and that's going to be something that UNC has to contend with, given that it plays a more traditional post-oriented style with 2 big guys.
And we talk about Barry back on Carolina, but Kennedy Meek's playing at a high level right now too, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And it's good to see him finally healthy, because that's been the issue with him the past couple of years. He had a very good freshman year. In fact, before this year, I thought that his freshman year was his best overall year. And then he kind of faded down the stretch, both the sophomore and junior seasons. He dealt with some injuries. He had some knee problems. I think he went through some adjustments attitude-wise, or maybe he sulked at times or didn't have the right kind of attitude or head on his shoulders at that point. He's really kind of worked through that, and you've seen the fruits of his labor kind of pay off, and that's also been a theme for these guys. Justin Jackson put in an incredible amount of work in the offseason, and so did Kennedy, and so did Luke May, who was a hero against Kentucky. I mean, these guys really got after it in the offseason, Kennedy included, and I think you're seeing kind of the results of that now.
Well, maybe Luke May will be the hero again.
Well, if he repeats what he did in Memphis, he could have his jersey honored at the Smith Center rafters. If he's the most outstanding player of the Final Four, that's one of the requirements that UNC has to hang up a jersey in the rafters. So that would be quite the accomplishment. But I'm not sure if that was lightning in a bottle or what, but certainly he played out of his mind in Memphis, averaging 16.5 points and almost 9 rebounds. And if there were odds on Luke May winning the most outstanding player honors for a regional, you could have probably won a good amount of money placing that bet.
Hey, Andrew, last thing, and we'll let you get out of here, man. Maybe grab a nap, as I know you got up early for us. We appreciate that. Probably safe to assume Justin Jackson on his way to the NBA after this. Would you make the argument, though, that Tony Bradley ends up being the best pro from this UNC team?
I think you can make that argument. I do think Justin Jackson is going to be good.